Let's have a look at this thing. Please. Very interesting. Yes. You keep a secret for so long, knowing it to be true, and yet deep down inside, you begin to wonder, has my life been wasted? Have you ever felt like that, Mr. Kane?
It's just Cade. Look, old timer, I don't have a ton of patience for riddles right now.
Yes, but you want to know, don't you, dude? Why they keep coming here. To Earth. Right. I do so love perfect timing.
Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the June 20th, 2017 edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Brought to you on the Chronic Riff Network. This week's birthdays include Arrows, Willa Holland, Zoe Saldana from the rebooted Star Trek universe and Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt, also of Guardians of the Galaxy, Nicole Kidman and Meryl Streep, both from a whole ton of stuff, Erica Durance from Smallville, Melissa Rauch from The Big Bang Theory, and Candace Patton from The Flash. Starting with the box office report, Lightning McQueen is champion once again. At number 10 is It Comes at Night, down 4 from 6th. At number 9 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, down 4 from 5th. At 8 is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, plummeting 5 from 3rd. In 7th is new release Rough Night, premiering to $8 million. That's well below the $20 million expectations, and it fell flat with audiences who gave it a C+. Critics were divided with a 49% approval rating. Finishing out the sweet spot of 5 is Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, down 2 from 4th. The top 5 this week begin with new release 47 Meters Down, sinking like a rock with $11.2 million. That is barely ahead of the $10 million expectations, and while that's a plus, the reception doesn't help matters any. Audiences gave it a C, and critics mustered at 54%. In 4th place is The Mummy, down 2 from 2nd with $14.5 million and a new total of $57.1 million. In 3rd place is new release All Eyes on Me, debuting to $26.4 million. Hitting theaters on what would have been Tupac Shakur's 46th birthday, this biopic is a tale of 2 receptions. Critics gave it a 22% approval, and one of the subjects of the film, Jada Pinkett Smith, made several statements on Twitter that summarized what she called a, quote, reimagining as, quote, deeply hurtful, and based on very loose interpretations of events. On the other hand, audiences were enthralled with an A- cinema score. In 2nd is last week's winner, Wonder Woman, adding $41.3 million to a total of $275.1 million. With only a 30% third weekend drop, that's the second largest third weekend ever for Warner Brothers, sandwiched between first place The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. At the end of 3 weeks, it is the second place DC Extended Universe film behind Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Worldwide, Wonder Woman now stands at $571.8 million. Picking up the checkered flag this week is Cars 3, speeding to a $53.7 million victory. That's below what Disney wanted, but the Cars and Planes universe of films is a merchandising machine, and with that license to print money, Cars 3 can perform any which way it wants to. In terms of Pixar's library, Cars 3 is the 16th out of 18 to debut at the top position. The only outliers there are The Good Dinosaur and Inside Out. The premiere is the 14th out of 18, coming in ahead of Ratatouille, The Good Dinosaur, Toy Story, and A Bug's Life. All of that aside, audiences loved it with an A cinema score. Of course, the only Pixar film not to score an A or an A+ was Cars 2, and it picked up an A-. Critics gave it a 66% approval, which places it between Cars and Cars 2, and much closer to the former's 74% than the latter's 39%. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2012, Brave took number 1 with $66.3 million. 10 years ago in 2007, Evan Almighty won the weekend with $31.2 million. 20 years ago in 1997, Batman and Robin was the winner with $42.9 million and a lot of disappointed moviegoers. 30 years ago in 1987, The Witches of Eastwick took the title with $8.3 million. And 40 years ago in 1977, The Deep won the box office crown with $6.9 million. What happened to Star Wars? It actually came in third, behind Exorcist 2, The Heretic. The box office premiere for June 23rd is another shot at an 80s classic. Given the love-hate relationship for this franchise, it can be taken either way. This week's headliner is Transformers: The Last Night, a sci-fi action film starring Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, and Josh Duhamel.
Does he have to loom like that?
Bonjour, chérie.
It was a nice ride. I mean, you can roll right up to Buckingham Palace in that thing.
Okay, you, American man, shut it. What am I doing here?
Yeah, why is she here?
Introductions. Miss Vivian Wembley, Master of History, Oxford, Doctor of Philosophy, also Oxford, and Doctor of Letters, again Oxford, I think. Anything else? Anyway, meet Cade.
Jaeger. Cade Jaeger. I'm an inventor.
Oh, you're an inventor.
Yes, I am.
What have you invented?
A lot of things.
Like?
Like a lot of things. Like things that you've heard of.
Like?
Well, things that you will have heard of, okay? Patents are pending.
Humans and Transformers are at war. Optimus Prime is gone. The key to saving our future lies buried in the secrets of the past, in the hidden history of Transformers on Earth. Transformers: The Last Night is rated PG-13. There are also 3 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of June 20th, and it's just about as light as the box office premieres are. I'll start with new releases on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with Life, a horror thriller starring Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Rebecca Ferguson. An international space crew discovers life on Mars. And then the murders begin. Life is rated R. The other title is Altitude, an action thriller starring Denise Richards, Dolph Lundgren, and Greer Grammer. A female FBI agent is offered millions to help a thief escape from a hijacked airplane. I haven't seen Denise Richards in ages. Altitude is rated R. Swinging by new releases on digital video, I have one title to share. That one is Kong Skull Island, an action-adventure film starring Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, and Brie Larson. In 1971, a team of explorers and soldiers travel to an uncharted island in the Pacific, unaware that they are crossing into the domain of monsters, including the mythic Kong. Kong Skull Island is rated PG-13. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, start things there with Jake and the Fatman, the complete series, spanning 1987 to 1992 and starring William Conrad, Joe Penny, and Alan Campbell. Golden Globe and Emmy nominee William Conrad stars as former police officer turned district attorney J.L. McCabe, also known as the Fat Man. McCabe, his special investigator Jake Stiles, and assistant DA Derek Mitchell, each with their unique personalities and distinct styles, strike down on crime, investigating murders, whodunits, kidnappings, and more. Nominated for 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, Jake and the Fat Man aired for 5 seasons on CBS. Originally set in Los Angeles, the series moved to Hawaii for its 2nd and 3rd seasons before returning to Los Angeles for the remainder of its run. The other TV title this week is Under the Dome, the complete series, spanning 2013 to 2015 and starring Mike Vogel, Rachelle Lefebvre, and Alexander Koch. From Amblin Television and based on Stephen King's best-selling novel, Under the Dome is the story of a small town that is suddenly and inexplicably sealed off from the rest of the world by an enormous, transparent dome. The town's inhabitants must deal with surviving the post-apocalyptic conditions while searching for answers about the dome, where it came from, and if and when it will go away. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you The Lawnmower Man, a horror film from 1992 starring Jeff Fahey, Pierce Brosnan, and Jenny Wright. A scientist performs experiments involving intelligence-enhancing drugs and virtual reality on a simple-minded gardener. He puts the gardener on an extensive schedule of learning, and quickly he becomes brilliant. But at this point, the gardener has a few ideas of his own on how the research should continue, and the scientist begins losing control of his experiment. The Lawnmower Man is rated R. After this brief break for About a Shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
Are you troubled by the strange ending to Sherlock? Do you experience feeling of dread while waiting for Doctor Who to return? Have you or your family actually seen Orphan Black, Person of Interest, or Sleepy Hollow? If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Log in to the home of all things geek, the Earth Station 1 network.
Our podcasts are on call 24 hours a day to serve all your geek needs.
The ESO network will be right there.
We're ready to geek out with you.
Be part of the crew at esonetwork.com.
The ESO Network, your station for all things geek. Classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at esonetwork.com.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. On behalf of the Weekly Podioplex, Michael and I would like to extend our heartfelt condolences to the family of Adam West. We are devastated by his loss. He will, and it has always been, Batman. The world has gotten a little bit dimmer without his light. Up first, blame Tom Cruise for The Mummy's flop. Actually, you know what? Blame Universal in of itself for a terrible movie, but according to Variety, Tom Cruise took control of the whole kit and caboodle, even going as far as to have the original script rewritten and the movie re-edited to his specifications. Apparently, he went as far as to tell newbie director Alex Kurtzman what to do on set. I mean, depending on who you talk to, Cruise either saved the film or helped turn it into a disaster. The film's supervising art director, Frank Walsh, had this to say: "This is very much a film of two halves, before Tom and after Tom. I have heard the stories about how he drives everything and pushes, but it was amazing to work with him. The guy is a great filmmaker and knows his craft. He will walk onto a set and tell the director what to do, say that's not the right lens, ask about the sets, and as long as you don't fluff what you're saying to him, he's easy to work for." To be fair, the same report said that Kurtzman wound up way over his head and wasn't adjusting well to the challenges of helming what was supposed to be an action-packed blockbuster. Thus, it fell to Cruise, the veteran of such projects, to get the production back on track and rally the troops behind him. Were that not to have happened, the movie would have fallen behind schedule. On the other hand, the report does say Cruise altered the original story of the Mummy considerably, beefing up his own role and downplaying that of the titular creature. Universal was reportedly unhappy with many of the creative changes, but ultimately opted to bank on Cruise's star power and fall in line with his decisions. Representative for Cruise have yet to publicly comment on the Variety report, but if it is true, all of them deserve the fallout and need to release the original script for public consumption. I, for one, would love to see what the movie was supposed to be. In more remake news that has disappointed our dear producer John Drew, Cannonball Run is headed for its own do-over with Get Hard's director Ethan Coen at the helm. Warner Bros. Has recently acquired the rights to the film. The original franchise, revolving around an illegal cross-country race where participants did whatever it took to win, starred Burt Reynolds, Frank Sinatra, Roger Moore, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Dom DeLuise. WB acquired all sequel and remake rights to the franchise from the original copyright owners Brock Yates, the Hal Needham Estate, and Fortune Star Limited. Andre Morgan and Alan Gasmer are producing with Albert S. Ruddy and Raymond Chow executive producing. Jesse Ehrman and Julius Spiro are overseeing the remake on Warner Brothers' behalf. I'm so sorry, John. Next, Big Trouble in Little China Old Man Jack series is launching in September. Close your ears to the Big Trouble in Little China remake. Jack Burton ain't done yet. I am pleased to announce a brand new comic series from Boom Studios exploring Jack Burton's final ride in the Pork Chop Express. Big Trouble in Little China Old Man Jack is a new series launching in September, written by John Carpenter and Anthony Birch. The year is 2020, and hell is literally on Earth. Ching Dai, sick of relying on screw-ups like Lo Pan to do his bidding, has broken the barriers between Earth and the infinite hells and declared himself ruler of all. 60-year-old Jack Burton is alone in a tiny corner of Florida with only his broken radio to talk to, until one day it manages to pick up a message. Someone is out there in the hellscape, and they know a way to stop Ching Dai. The first story arc of the Old Man Jack series features 4 issues and introduces an old Jack trying to ignore a certain awfulness around him and his unexpected call to action, reuniting with familiar, not-so-friendly faces. Hilariously weird foes, strange luck, and unexpected allegiances abound. Sign me up. This one and Shirtless Bear Fighter, out June 19th, are so going on my pull list. Thirdly, DuckTales! So, if you haven't already, you need to watch the new opening titles. The show is gonna be great. In a series of 100 individual episodes across 4 seasons that aired between 1987 and 1990, DuckTales became an integral facet of the popular culture with kids of the late 1980s and 1990s, who took to Scrooge McDuck and his 3 grandnephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, with an effusive personal attachment. Now, with an official reboot coming starring Doctor Who star David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck, things are gonna get that much more awesome. I still have the DuckTales movie on VHS, you guys. That's how much I love this series. The series is set to premiere on September 23rd, but fans old and new will be treated to a 1-hour premiere on August 12th. Now, I'm over here in Romania, but you best believe I'm getting an iTunes season pass. This is one show I am not going to miss. And finally, Black Mirror is becoming a book series. Created by Charlie Booker, the British import anthology series tells sci-fi stories with a dark and satirical edge, usually focusing on the unanticipated consequences of modern society's obsession with the latest and greatest technological advances. The series began on the UK's Channel 4 before getting picked up by Netflix for seasons 3 and 4 after the original batch of episodes proved to be a big hit among the service's streaming subscribers. In a weird twist for a show so focused on new technology, it seems the anthology is getting the paper treatment. According to The Wrap, the first volume in the Black Mirror series will hit shelves on February 20th, 2018. Exactly which authors will be contributing to the anthology, we don't know, but we will keep you updated as the information becomes available. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. And here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, we would love to hear from you. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. You can write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. If 140 characters or less is more your thing, you can still tweet us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke Bullseye is T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies, of course. If you leave us feedback, you may hear your words on a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what other shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. We have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, presenting the transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you have a Roku player, you can use it as a time machine and find us there on the Chronic Rift's Roku channel, where we have episodes of the Chronic Rift's adventures in the 1990s when it was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. The blog is entering the 19th season, the first season with the 5th Doctor, and those reviews can be found at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment, Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make at that store supports the Chronic Riff Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, their adventures in drama, comedy, and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at the theater.
That's a wrap!